Kit, I'm hungover. I feel worse than anybody trying to listen to Joe Biden get through a speech about gas prices.
I wouldn't touch that line with a 10-foot drive shaft.
Oh, my head's pounding. I'm a little nauseous.
Yes, well, at least it's not getting any worse.
You're no help. So welcome back to Hots Automotive, and yes, by that beginning, I am hungover today. Yes, people do drink a little bit here and there, and I did last night, a little too much. And here's the thing about alcohol. If I drink it, I don't get better looking, only if you drink it. That being said, I want to introduce you to a very rare car here. So I know by the title you're wondering, rare bird. Okay, it's a 1967 Pontiac Firebird. Yes, you've seen them. You've seen a lot of these. One was actually even featured on Jay Leno's Garage, which I saw one of these as a kid. What makes this car rare? This is an inline six-cylinder. Okay, now they did, of course, make six-cylinders, but this one is called a Sprint. Sprint was an experiment. John DeLorean, after he designed the GTO, saw the new Jaguar that came out. That was an inline six-cylinder. It was a sports car with an inline six that was doing pretty well at races. And John DeLorean wanted to then do his own inline six sports car, but he wanted to do an American version of it. GM told him no. They already had the Corvette. They didn't need another American sports car. They've got the Vet. So DeLorean then went to other factions of GM to find out if he could still do this, but take the motor that he's designing and put it into an existing car. And that's where this comes from. So in 1967, you could get an inline six-cylinder, or you could get this, which was basically a higher option, inline six. So it is a overhead cam, inline six-cylinder, 3.8 liter, one of the first cars ever to have a timing belt, 10-to-5 compression, 215 horsepower, with a bigger intake and a 4-barrel carburetor and a bigger exhaust manifold so this car can breathe. This car produces 215 horsepower with a 3-speed manual on the floor. It's really neat to see a piece of history like this, and especially something this rare. They weren't that rare at the time, of course. 7,200 were made in 67. They also did the Sprint in 68 as well. You could order the options. Most of the time during the 70s and 80s, when people then started buying these cars to fix them up, they would see an inline six in them and they would pull them and put V8s in them. Very rarely did you ever see these actually survive, which now makes this a very rare car. So, like I said, this you hardly ever see. It was featured on Jay Leno's Garage. He had a 68 on there, and if you get a chance, look that one up as well. He'll tell you more about the story of these cars. But it's just really neat to see a car like this that is super rare, and to be able to, know what it is right off the bat. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And everybody's just looking at me like, well, it's just a 67 Firebird. They're nice, but what are you geeking out about? I'm like, this motor. This is an extremely rare motor. You don't understand this background to this motor. So it's really neat to see it. Customer brought it in. It had an oil leak. Had some issues with shifting as well. One of the bushings on the clutch kind of broke, so we're going to readjust the clutch. Plus, also the linkage was rusted, so we cleaned it up, lubed it up, and now it's hitting second and third gear. We also checked the fluids. Transmission fluid was, or the gear oil in the transmission was half full. So she needed some attention. The car doesn't get driven all that much, and which is not good for cars sometimes, you know, because you see stuff like that. They start to rust in components that move, and they had a hard time getting it to shift from first to second gear. They had to basically wedge it into gear. So far, it looks like we found the oil leak. The customer thought it was going to be blow-by or a bad valve because he was seeing oil and he's thinking it's coming through the exhaust that was on the back of the car. No, it was leaking from a seal on the distributor. The distributor was loose, and it was causing the oil to come out, and it was traveling. When we opened the hood, this was all covered. The whole side of the motor, all the way down underneath the car, all the way to the back. So it wasn't blow-by inside the motor, it was actually blowing oil out of the motor, which, you know, made it look like then he would get a little bit of smoke, and he would get that thought of, okay, well, my motor might be junk now. Nope, she's in perfect health. It runs perfectly. Leaks are fixed. The shifter is working correctly. We just got to adjust the clutch on Monday, and this one will be going back home. But I wanted to do the video just on this car because of how rare this car is, and you don't ever see these. And that's it for this video. Wanted to thank you all again for stopping by Hots Automotive. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment below. We'll see you again.